Madam Web is ridiculous. It makes no sense at times. It's over the top. And I have to say, I kind of enjoyed it. Hello to all my webheads out there. My name is EJ and welcome to Flickering Myth. In this video, we will be breaking down a spoiler-free, girl, I could spoil this whole movie for you and you wouldn't even, this movie is unspoilable, it's unreviewable, it's insane. We are going to be talking about Madam Web. Holy smokes, I have not seen a movie this level of just what the hell in quite some time. Do I think Madam Web is an awful movie? To be honest, not really. I think there is a strong idea. There's a script that has a beginning, middle, and end. I know that sounds like a shady comment, but in the era of a lot of superhero movies now, it just feels like I'm not getting fulfilled. I'm not getting enough. That they're often just fillers or there's just nothing really going on. I was actually kind of interested to see the story unfold. Sadly, it's weighed down by some real bad dialogue, though nobody reads and performs bad dialogue quite as good as Dakota Johnson. What a fun talent she is. We'll talk about her in a whole section. But yeah, this movie is just, it's below average for sure. I'm not going to claim that this movie is great, but in the grand scheme of these Sony Marvel movies, I think this is better than Morbius. It's better than Venom 2. It's kind of right under there with the first Venom. And to be honest, actually, I would prefer to watch this than a handful of the most recent MCU entries. This movie looks better. It's not shot on a volume. You can touch the sets. Now, there is some wacky CGI at times, but it's that uncanny valley when we're seeing the web of Madam Web's world. So yeah, those aren't, I'm not offended by that. So yeah, I think this movie looks okay. The script does what it needs to do. It's filled, again, with some atrocious dialogue, some real cringy moments to get from point A to point B, but I didn't hate the journey from point A to point B to point C. It was just a ride. The teen characters can be a bit obnoxious. It's weird. Every compliment I have, there's a negative to go right with it. But Madam Web just hits those notes that I enjoy. I have not seen a movie quite like this since a Elektra, since a Catwoman. It's female led. It's a little bit campy. It's a little bit for a different demographic than what we usually see. I could compare this a lot to, I think what I'm about to say is a better movie, but I can compare this to Birds of Prey, where it's definitely knowing its market. It's going to be marketed to LGBT folks, to women. Will it play for them? Well, I'm not saying every gay person, every woman is going to love this movie, but you can tell there's a sensibility that isn't for the average superhero fan. It's not made for just straight up dudes. So I appreciate this movie in that aspects, but God, this movie it's filled with one of the worst comic book villains ever. Not just Marvel, not just DC, one of the worst villains I have seen, and he honestly is my biggest complaint. If I got a better villain, if I didn't spend as much time with the teen girls, I would have thought this movie was serviceable, but I would say this is definitely a watch at your own risk. If you're into movies that aren't perfect, if you miss the heyday of less serious superhero movies like a Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Jonah Hex, those kind of movies, you're gonna feel right at home with movies like Madam Web. Cassie Webb, Dakota Johnson plays Cassie Webb, a paramedic who is trying to figure out her weird place in this world. She does not want to deal with the family stuff. She doesn't want to deal with anybody. She kind of wants to stay as a loner, but fate has a different plan for her as she gets intertwined with these three younger girls getting chased by a killer man in a fake Spider-Man suit. Truly the worst cosplay Spider-Man outfit this man could have worn. But yeah, he's hunting them. He believes that these girls are going to kill him in the future. So Madam Web, Cassie Webb's character, she ends up developing this kind of final destination power where she can see the future. It's not perfect. She can't control it, but we see her learn to control the ability. I really like the premise of Madam Web. I think this is great. Again, I have a Madam Web shirt on right now. I like this character. I like this universe. I love what Sony's always trying to do with these weird spin-offs. I know people don't really like them, the Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies, but I enjoy what this is trying to do. So the bare bones plot, the final destination vibe, where she's seeing these attacks, she's seeing this murder, it's chopped and edited like a Saw movie, like a Final Destination movie. It gets frenetic and frantic, but I found it to be engaging. I found myself liking this is how this is going to play, and then seeing some stuff unfold wrong, and then we have to redo that. I like that stuff. It really worked for me. The moments that we kind of drag down and it's just a lot of people talking, oh, I can only deal with so many this is the exact line I have to say for this moment, and I'm making a joke. It's a lot of acting and dialogue like that, but the set pieces, I thought there was a subway chase scene that I thought was interesting. I liked the final one with the paramedic stuff. I really actually enjoyed the diner segment. It scored to Toxic by Britney Spears. That could be a little note, but overall, I just really thought this was a decent premise that's weighed down by way too much weirdness, by the Amazon stuff. When we went to Peru, and I'm like, what? Why are we here? We got like 30 minutes left and we're doing this. The pacing and the structure is not perfect, but again, I enjoyed what was presented and what they tried to do. It is just bogged down by way too much BS. There's a special magic to a movie like a Madam Web. You have to go in thinking you're making art. You have to go in making a self-serious film, and then through editing, through memes, through the final product, it ends up being a what the hell, a stew of unintentional comedy, sometimes intentional comedy, and that's what I enjoy. I just think we're in an era where it's either a prestige, big old blockbuster, superhero film like a Joker, like an Infinity War, something that you have to feel, and it's drawing on all your emotions, or they're like kind of filler, Marvel movies like a Quantumania, like a Guardians 3, like Shang-Chi, that they're just there to either give you a little bit of backstory, introduce a new character, but there's not much here. Madam Web is trying to introduce a new character, set up a cinematic universe, give you hints at like the Spider-Man stuff. They're trying to do the most, and I have to appreciate the pure, wow, y'all did that. Y'all tried to do that. And again, there's just a magic. We live in this era where we have to make the most serious content, and this is a disgrace to my superhero movies. Girl, y'all weren't there in the bad times, like the dark times, the times where I was shaped and molded by a Spider-Man 3, by an X-Men The Last Stand, by a Constantine, by these kind of movies that aren't perfect, that aren't great, but they were backed by killer soundtracks. What this movie has, a earnest lead performance that they're trying their hardest. Dakota Johnson is trying. Succeeding, that's a different story. That's up for debate between you, I, and the comments, but she tries. And I love what this movie is attempting to do. It feels like a throwback to movies that were made in between 2003 and about 2008, before like the Iron Man Dark Knight era and before like the weird days of the Schumacher Blade movies. This movie fits right into that sweet spot, that spot that a lot of movies don't really fill. This is going to work for a certain type of person. When you hear this movie is in a holy trinity with Catwoman and Elektra, it's the Destiny's Child of what the hell superhero movies. And I appreciate that. I love that. Again, not everyone's going to do it. You're going to see my fairly positive review. I have shaded the hell out of this movie, but you'll see my fairly positive review and be like, that makes no sense. It's personal preference. It's personal taste. I sat down, turned my brain off for a little bit, and just enjoyed the wackiness. Enjoyed not having to understand plots of this, or this. It was just like, hey, this woman can kind of vaguely tell time. She's trying to save these girls. Cool. I'm just going to sit down and eat my little nerds clusters, get me through the day, and sip my Pepsi, the Pepsi product placement. My lord. I never shame product placement, but when I'm like, wow, Pepsi is like the final act villain, basically, almost. Insanity. This movie doesn't know what the hell it wants to do, and it knows what it's doing all at the same time. This is special. Alright everyone, that is it from my breakdown of Madam Web. What did you think of my review? What do you think of this movie? This is one that I say throw on at like 9 p.m. on Netflix with your friends, hoot and holler at it, talk about it, quote it. It's one of those movies. Or go see it with a group of friends this week. I definitely think this is a personal preference thing. I am like the connoisseur of bad taste. I love a fun, bad movie, and that's what hit this for me. Like, I saw the Bob Marley movie last night. It was boring. It was boring. I had no entertainment from it. This is bad, but it's not boring. I was not bored during this movie. Was I entertained? Sure, because I was trying to figure out what the hell was happening. But like I said, what do you guys think? Comment, subscribe. If you are a subscriber of Flickering Myth, thank you so much for joining us. Give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, and let's talk about Madam Web right down below.